Another departure for Hull City as Steven Alzate has left the club and joined Atlanta United for an undisclosed fee. We know that this is in the region of around £1.5 million. Hello there and welcome back to the HullCityFanCentral YouTube channel, where today I'll be going through the latest departure from the Tigers in Steven Alzate. We have known this one coming for a bit of time now, but it's been officially announced by both clubs. Hull City put out a little statement. I'll be going through that along with my reaction and also where this club will be moving on from this, where the midfield department will be moving on from this as well, and what maybe more transfers we could see in this week leading up, of course, to Saturday being the kickstart of Hull City's championship campaign away at Coventry. So this is what Hull City had to say about the departure of Steven Alzate. Midfielder Steven Alzate is transferred to American Major League Soccer side, I'm not going to say the S word, but the MLS, Atlanta United, for an undisclosed fee. The 26-year-old featured 29 times for the Tigers after signing as a free agent last September, making his debut as a substitution in that month's 4-1 victory over Cardiff City. The Colombian became a regular fixture from December onward after recovering from his injury, starting 22 of City's final 28 matches and providing his only assist in a 2-1 win over Swansea City. We would like to thank Steven for his efforts during his time at the MKM Stadium and wish him well for the future. So there we go. A big caveat on this one. It was a free transfer, wasn't it? We've made profit on this one. It's another one of these fantastic signings that you look back on and you go, it's brilliant that. A little bit similar to the Jane and Philogene deal. This one has followed a bit of a similar breath. Brought in on a low, free transfer and sell-on value quite big. It's one of them ones where you've gone, how has nobody signed Steven Alzate off the free transfer market? Because he pretty much came in and did a job. Of course, he was a little bit injured when he signed and he didn't really get going for quite a bit of time until after he signed. But he was a signing, I think it was after the deadline we signed him on the free transfer. It was certainly quite a bit of the way into the season. We picked him up. Any team could have picked him up, mind you. We picked him up. It was almost a diamond in the rough situation. And I certainly saw it the first couple of games that we saw Steven Alzate going. I was like, how has nobody else picked up Steven Alzate on this free transfer? And long behold, it's paid fortune for Hull City. He was good during his time at Hull City. You maybe could have seen him having a bit of a role this upcoming season. Certainly, Djukiewicz would have liked to seen how that would have played out. But cash in now, £1.5 million. It's nothing too bad to send him off to go and play regular football in the MLS. Certainly seems like a move that Alzate wanted to happen, because I don't think he returned to Hull City training camp, and obviously must have been somewhat facilitating a move away, which I don't blame him. There was interest from Sheffield United. I know there's a few other clubs interested in him in England, but it seemed like he's gone to the MLS. Maybe that was where the biggest price point was for him, or maybe that's where he wanted to go. Of course, he's Colombian MLS. It's close, of course, to Colombia, then, of course, playing in England. So whether that's a deciding factor in it for Alzate, but who knows. 1.5 million, though, it's not too bad to bring in for Steven Alzate. To say that is pretty much 100% profit. It's certainly not too bad. Of course, you have to account for wage fees and all that sort of stuff. But let's say that a good considerable 80-90% of that money is pure profit. Well, that's certainly good. If you can have one or two of these projects going every year, of course, that's not going to happen. But you got to think about these small little things, the little story behind the scenes, the Alzates, Philogenes, these little stories behind the scenes, players you bring in for cheap. And yes, we've seen loads of players not hit on this sort of project, but when the ones happen like this, Alzate has happened, well, makes you think, well, maybe the brain team do have something going. But where will this midfield move on from this? Well, we've known it for a while, so the club have been preparing for this for quite some time, and we haven't seen Alzate play pre-season. We've pretty much been seeing what the midfield will be looking like come Saturday. Of course, the additions of Lundstrom has changed that up a bit. We saw that on Saturday against Getafe. Whereas the more additions will be coming in, we will be waiting to know on this one, because Ollie McBurney, that's sounding like that could be a positive one happening within the next day or two. Brandon Williams, that one could be possibly happening within the next day or two. Of course, him being on a trial period in the past sort of week or so. So, midfield-wise, where we looking to add beyond this? Well, there is possibility of adding a lone central midfielder, presumably as a Premier League loan-in, but we know that Ajan's been known to bring in loans from Turkey, from various different clubs across Europe. So, we could wait and see on that one. That might be one that will be happening a bit later on. Of course, we know the loans tend to happen within that sort of final week of the deadline of the summer transfer window, and of course the January transfer window. We know that them sort of deals, the loan deals, especially from the clubs that are a bit on the higher pedigree, they happen a bit later on. And Darla, it's happened now because it was the right move for him. Get kick-started from minute one with the club, his first real season of senior football, and I mean, it's probably going to be a good one. We'll wait and see, but I'm happy with Ndala. So that seems to be with the situation with the central midfield department. Of course, we have signed Gustavo Puerta and Reda Leao. Of course, they're both not registered, though, as Hull City players due to the embargo fee restrictions and all sorts of stuff that we've had this summer. But that is seeming a bit of a positive situation. Hull City are still progressing to try and get Reda Leao officially signed and all sorted with the EFL. Presumably, that's a similar situation with Gustavo Puerta. Of course, he triggered his obligation to buy last season by playing so many minutes for the club, and therefore we've already paid, and he is a Hull City player, but he's not registered as a Hull City player. So these two we'll be keeping an eye on, but those are two more strong midfield options to add into this squad. Of course, Gustavo Puerta, we saw last season, Reda Leao, we haven't actually seen play for Hull City yet. He has been a part of the Hull City training camps and all sorts. He went out to Turkey with them. I presume he's been playing ball at Cottingham, and he's taken obviously photos in his new Hull City kit. We haven't seen the same from Gustavo Puerta, so we're interested to see on what the update situation is on him, of course, moving forward, because he's currently without a sort of a plan forwards, I would say, without a club. But he has a club, but he doesn't have a club. It's a very interesting situation with both Puerta and Reda Leao, but Puerta more so because, of course, he signed on the obligation to buy. So it was kind of, the deal was done before the embargoes and fee restrictions were put in. But I won't dive into too much of the EFL embargo stuff now, because that's probably going to be a video later on in the week, along with a breakdown of what we've seen from Hull City this pre-season, feeding into where this midfield has developed from last season, from Alzate pretty much running the shop alongside Puerta and Matazo and Zambrano when we had him for that stretch. Certainly, it seems to have developed to a significantly better place. We haven't really added too much to the midfield. I think the only addition really has been Lundstrom, and of course the occasional youth player coming in the pre-season games. But it's certainly looking better, and I mean, that's all credit to Sergei Yakirovich. So, yeah, Alzate's gone. What will be the next thing for the midfield? Well, we'll see, of course, what the next transfer in comes, because there most likely will be at least one more midfielder coming into this squad in this summer transfer window. Of course, if you want to know who it is, if you want to keep up to date with everything Hull City, well, stay tuned here on the Hull City Fan Central YouTube channel, where to keep up to date on everything Hull City transfer news, embargo, fee restriction news, everything. We're preparing you for Hull City to kickstart their championship campaign on Saturday. So make sure you like and subscribe to keep up to date with everything Hull City, and I'll see you in the next video. Up the Tigers!